What's going on, everyone? TC Tech Killer here, and we are back for week 6 of the college football season. And today we are doing 2 videos in one: my usual Pac-12 predictions and my kind of bye week or every other week top 25 rankings. So sit back, enjoy. I'm doing this just because I'm not feeling too well. Started getting sick yesterday. Have like a sore throat and headache type thing. So hopefully I'll be over that by the time I get videos out next week. And I also started a new job. I'm doing an internship as an accountant somewhere other than the other place I did last time. So yeah, those two things have kind of made my week a little bit hectic, and I'm really unorganized. So hopefully this video isn't just terrible. But I think I'm going to get started on the top 25 first and then work my way to the Pac-12 games and my predictions. Big weekend for a couple of Pac-12 teams as well as other teams, obviously, in the top 25. Last weekend we finally had a good slate of games with 4 undefeated matchups and top 25 matchups abound. So pretty exciting week and definitely a little bit of a shake-up on the top 25. And I kind of just started writing out like a top 25, and there was a few teams were a lot different than what I had a couple weeks ago, and I'm not exactly sure why, but yeah, so I made a little bit of changes after looking at my last poll. But I think this one is a little bit more accurate and up to date, obviously, after weeks 4 and 5. So without further ado, let's get started with it. I'm not going to say too much. I just want to get through this kind of, and so I don't leave you guys hanging for a week. But maybe next week I will come out with a top 25 video that is more in-depth and explains a lot of my reasoning for things, and it will include this weekend's game as well. And yeah, or maybe not though, but I might just have it in the regular scheduled time and go. My next one will be week 8 if I don't have one out next week, but we'll see. As well as predictions for the top 25 teams as well. So let me know what you guys want, because I'm not exactly sure what to do. And like I said, a little disorganized right now, but hopefully I get that under control in a few days. Anyway, let's start at number 25. I have Fresno State, dropping them a couple spots from last week. I had them 23rd 2 weeks ago, and they didn't play really well at Hawaii. And I guess I didn't really take into account Boise State in this one, so they probably should be ranked a few ranks higher. But they didn't play especially well at Hawaii last week, and almost had a rally by the Rainbow Warriors to notch the upset. Even though they did travel a few hours from Fresno to Hawaii, I still dropped them a couple, but we'll see. We'll make adjustments next week. At number 24, I have Wisconsin, a close loss to Ohio State, one of the best teams in the nation right now. And couldn't really get that last drive going. They got Stabby got sacked and had a fumble and stuff like that. So I don't know. On the Big Ten teams, it's really hard to determine where they should go right now, and I'm sure that's probably the same for a lot of people. At number 23, I have Maryland, kind of a little bit of a surprise, 4-0 right now. They took care of business a couple weeks ago against West Virginia, 37-0 or something similar. And you didn't really look too much into that since WVU had that near loss to William and Mary, and then a pretty bad game against Oklahoma, even though they were only a touchdown down to touchdown. But since Oklahoma State got upset by them, it kind of bumps up Maryland a little bit and shows that they're a little bit stronger and that they're 4-0. Is kind of a surprise and kind of cool. Just like the next team on our list at number 22, I have UCF. Even after they had that loss to South Carolina, it was only a 3-point loss, so I did bump them up a few spaces from a couple weeks ago. Had them at 24, now at 22. Broyles, another great game. I think he had 25 out of 20 or 25 out of 33, 35, 38, something like that, and then a couple touchdowns. So good performance by the quarterback again. No turnovers. Or at least that's what I saw on the stat line. So they look good. definitely a surprise team we should keep an eye on in the AAC. So number 21, I have Texas Tech. They had a bye week last week, I believe, and then they were at Texas versus Texas State the week before that. So nothing really too big to judge them on, but they did bump up a spot just because other teams around them kind of shifted around. At number 20, I have the biggest loser in my poll the past few weeks, and that is number 5, Oklahoma State. They had a bye week before last week, and then they just floundered at West Virginia in Morgantown. Just couldn't get their offense going and couldn't really stop one of the worst offenses in the college football world right now. West Virginia did switch quarterbacks, so that could have something to do with it. It's going to be interesting to see how they fare in games coming up. But Oklahoma State, for the time being, a big drop, and I mean, it's just one game. They could still get in that Big 12, the Big 12 title race, but are definitely going to have to win some big games against Oklahoma and Baylor now. Number 19, conveniently, I have Oklahoma. Not much to say. I think they had a bye week a couple weeks ago as well, and then they did beat Notre Dame, so that was a big one as well. They do get bumped up a spot or two in my polls. I didn't think Notre Dame was that good, but still Notre Dame was ranked in the AP poll. And Oklahoma took care of business by 2 touchdowns. So, good game, but I'm not going to overreact to win against a Notre Dame team. So, that's where they are right now. I might bump them up in a few spots here in the next couple of weeks as they get into Big 12 play as well. Number 18, I have Michigan. They were off this week, and they played Connecticut the week before and did not look good against them. Almost an upset by Connecticut, which has looked dismal this year. Lost to an FCS team. So Michigan drops 7 spots so far in the past 2 weeks, and looking for some big games coming up to help them move up. They're still undefeated, but aren't looking too good so far. At number 17, I have Arizona State. A big win against USC last week, beating them almost by 20 points. Had a huge third quarter where they scored 41 points. They didn't look amazing in the first half, but definitely took it to USC in the second half. I wish their defense would looked a little better, but they didn't. So that's my reasoning for them. At number 16, I have South Carolina, just right around where I had them last time. They had a bye week a couple weeks ago and then played UCF, a close game last week, and they probably shouldn't have played that close. I mean, maybe that's why SEC teams don't like to travel away from home out of conference very much. I don't know. At number 15, I have Miami going up a few spots after a big win against Savannah State a few weeks ago. And then I don't even remember who they played. I think they might have been off this past week. Can't remember. Hopefully I'm not getting that right because then I look bad. At number 14, I have Northwestern still. They played Maine and didn't look too good playing Maine a couple of weeks ago. Looked pretty beatable, actually. So they have a big game against Ohio State. College game day coming to town this week. Definitely going to be finally a game where we know what is going on with this team. Kind of a mystery team right now. Improved from 2 years ago, and so I don't know. We'll see how they do this week. At number 13, I have Baylor, one of the top offenses in the league, one of the more surprising teams. Not saying that we didn't think they were going to be undefeated going into week 6, but just how they've looked doing it, just beating teams up. They played Louisiana Monroe a couple weeks ago and just shattered them after Oklahoma played them somewhat close, I think, a few weeks prior. But Baylor, I like Baylor. Their offense is good. Their defense looks a little bit better than last year. So definitely if they have those two things, not a lot of teams are going to beat them with the way they score. Definitely look into their November big game loaded schedule. But we will see how that goes. But right now I'm liking them. And with Oklahoma State losing, I think Baylor is my team that is jumping into that Big 12 title favorite, or the champion favorite, for me at least. At number 12, I have my Washington Huskies. Had that 31-13 win against Arizona last week in the pouring rain, stormy conditions. This coming week, they have a big test going into Palo Alto to face the number 5 Stanford Cardinal. And we've done okay on the road against Illinois. Illinois looks much improved, but still only a 10-point loss or a win, our smallest margin of victory. And that is a little bit concerning considering our past year's road woes. So it's going to be definitely a huge game. We'll see how we look and if we have a chance for an upset the following weekend against Oregon. At number 11, I have Texas A&M, a close call against Arkansas this past week. And they played SMU the previous week and not really blew them out, but scored double them, I think. I think they let SMU still score 20, 25 points in that game. So defense still a problem for them. And if opponents can get a couple stops on Johnny Manziel and Mike Evans, they definitely are in danger of losing some games. So that's definitely something they need to work on. Going into some of their losable games, such as Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, and then LSU on the horizon. At number 10, I have Louisville, still beating teams pretty convincingly, but again, they aren't playing really great teams. So I'm not going to be docking them too much until teams ahead of them or right around them get huge wins. But I like Louisville, and once people start dropping from the unrankings, they're going to be bumped up a little bit too. So I don't expect them to drop much further than 10th. Unless they do lose, they're going to be probably dropped to the low teens, maybe even the 20 ranks. But I still like them. Teddy Bridgewater doing great things over there. At number 9, I have UCLA. They had a bye last week. And before that, they played New Mexico State, one of the worst teams in FBS, and blew them out. Don't really know where they are, so I don't want to put them up too high right now, but they have a decent test going into next week. Actually, a little Pac-12 game playing at Utah. We'll get to know the team a little more in the Utah altitude, as well as an improved Utes team that beat BYU earlier this year. At number 8, I have Florida State. And this game is a little bit, or not game, this team, I like this team so far, but they haven't exactly played anyone either. I think they have a big game. I don't know who they play right offhand. I think they play Maryland this weekend, actually. So, I mean, if they're probably expecting to at least win by 3 touchdowns or so. Jameis Winston looking very, very good. A lot of people saw the little, not really Hail Mary, but like a 50-yard bomb, the Flutie play, I think people were calling it, or at least ESPN was. And he just looks great. So it'll be fun to watch him against Clemson. That's a good game to be circling on everyone's calendars, and I like them so far. But again, haven't really played too many quality opponents so far. At number 7, I have LSU. I thought they were going to win last week's game against Georgia, and definitely just fell short on the road in Athens. Still like the team. The offense is very much improved. Jeremy Hill and Zach Mettenberger and Laundry. Defense didn't look so great as well. I know a lot of the SEC teams have lost a lot of seniors last year, but a lot of scoring in the SEC this year. We'll see how that shakes out. LSU has a big matchup against Texas A&M in the coming weeks. Number 6, we have Ohio State. They again played Wisconsin in a pretty tight game at the end, but they won not really threateningly, except the very last drive. Ohio State looked better in that game than they have the past few weeks when they played at Cal, played at San Diego State, and played Buffalo. So that definitely solidifies them as one of the top teams in the country and a good title contender in a down Big Ten still. But like you're watching right now, Northwestern, they have to travel to Evanston this weekend, college game day there. Going to be a good matchup, hopefully. Should be exciting nonetheless. At number 5, I have Georgia. And Georgia is the highest one-loss team up there. There's a couple in my top 10 and a couple in the AP top 10. Georgia lost that opening game to Clemson, and you got to wonder, since they had their loss so early in the season, that definitely is going to benefit them. Even if they lost next week, they're 3-2. They probably, I don't know who they play, but they probably don't drop too far. They could even still get in there, get in the SEC championship, and maybe even win that and go to the national championship, even as a 2-loss team over maybe like a Louisville, an undefeated Louisville. So it's pretty crazy, and it's really convenient that Georgia had that big game, the big loss, really early in the season compared to teams like Stanford, Oregon, who are going to play a big game in the last couple weeks of the season, and will definitely have to win that one if they want to even think about going to the national championship, let alone the Pac-12 championship. So interesting. Again, only 4 teams on top of them in mine. I think they're around the same in the AP poll, 5 or 6. Ohio State is I think it's in front of them, but still the same thing nonetheless. At number 4, I have Stanford. They had a pretty convincing win last weekend against WSU in the again the pouring rain in Seattle. Excuse me. And then the week before, they had a big win against Arizona State. They just destroyed them the first half, and then the second half, Arizona State came back and didn't really challenge them, but forced them to put the starters back in with Hogan and Montgomery. And yeah, it was almost a disaster for Stanford, but they didn't let that happen this week. They pretty much killed two of WSU's quarterbacks. So big game again against Washington, top 15 game. It's going to be good, hopefully good weather, and we can see how the teams compare. Number 3, I have Clemson. They have that big win against Georgia in the first game, and then they played NC State a couple weeks ago and held on to an okay win. Wasn't overly convincing, as there was a call on the sideline that could have changed the game a little bit, but still won by, I think, 14-ish points. And I think they play, I'm not sure who they play right now this weekend. I'm not sure. I think if I remember correctly, it's a decent ACC team, like Georgia Tech or something like that. And so they just need to keep doing what they're doing, stay undefeated, and they will have a pretty good shot going to the national championship game with their resume. They just need Oregon or Alabama to slip on one game, and they both have championship games, so that could be a little tricky for them. Number 2, I have Alabama once again. They had a decent win. I don't want to say decent. It was a pretty good win against an Ole Miss team that is looking improved. 25-0, they shut them out. I heard that. I didn't watch it. I heard that Ole Miss kind of forfeited field goals to go for it on 4th down to get some more points, and it didn't quite work out. But if they did that on maybe 2 times, that's a totally different game, and we might be saying something different right now. Next week, Alabama faces Georgia State in that difficult SEC schedule. So should be an easy win for them. Not much to talk about there. At number 1 again, I have Oregon. Rolled last week against Cal in pouring rain, 55-16. Big win. They go to Boulder, Colorado to play Colorado next week. Should be, again, a no challenge, really. Same with Alabama. And I don't expect the top 2 teams to fall this weekend. Oregon has the Washington game the week after that, so that might be on the horizon. Could it be a look-ahead game? I doubt it. Those guys over there are pretty good at staying focused to the task at hand. So those are my top 25 teams, and I guess I did explain them a little more than I wanted to, so I'm about 20 minutes in right now. So I guess I will just go ahead and do 2 separate videos. Hopefully that didn't confuse anyone, or I don't know. So let me know what you guys think about my top 25. Who's too high? Who's too low? Why my reasoning's wrong? Why my reasoning's right? And let me know what you guys think. And come back and check out my Pac-12 predictions. Probably tomorrow, maybe even Thursday, since we have definitely Thursday, since we have a Thursday night game between UCLA and Utah. Thanks for watching, and take care.